Hello. If you feel there's something wrong with the picture quality, you might be right, but it's probably not on your end. It's on mine. It may look kind of dark and hard to see me clearly, uh, but this is how I've appeared in most of my meetings for the last month and a half. When I realized it wasn't the setting that I was trying to do this in, because I tried the dining room from a couple different angles. I've done the kitchen from different angles. I've been outside in different places. And here in the bedroom office, I've got the window open on a sunny day. I've got a light on behind me. I've got a very bright light on in front of me. Any combination of those things ends up with the same result. I'm still sitting in shadows. When I shared this observation that it was my computer's camera, not the setting, in one of my meetings, it prompted one person to give the prophecy about future computer shopping, that one lasting impact of this pandemic will be the increased frequency of this one question when people go shopping for laptops, computers. How is the camera? Before this, for a lot of us, the camera was not a primary factor in our computer's performance. But now we've had to do a lot of work over video conference and even do family get togethers over Zoom and other platforms. And some of us, or at least me, I've realized I've been in the dark. Zooming in the dark is not good. And as our peace verse this week will remind us, walking in the dark isn't good either.
It's not crazy that kids would be scared of the dark or adults. You go from being able to see to suddenly not seeing anything, and whatever is past your reach, is just unknown. And then if your imagination starts to run just a little bit, then there is so much out there in the darkness to be worried about. Whether you're thinking of some scene from a horror flick, be afraid, be very afraid, or just the prospect of getting up in the middle of the night to try to find the bathroom. Walking through the darkness automatically arouses our apprehensions. Seriously, I can't see where I'm going right now. For all those times where we're not sure how to move forward, walking through the dark is a fitting picture. When we don't know what's going on or what to do, we might say that we feel left out in the dark. Or when we're not sure, we can't see the path forward yet, we might say that we're going through things blindly. We could ratchet it up even another step. Going through life without Jesus is like blindly feeling our way around in a dark night. It's not surprising that the Bible picks up this imagery many times. In fact, it might be that the most accurate picture of what we call hell is of being left alone in the darkest darkness. Certainly sometimes the darkness that we have to walk through it's of our own doing. And there's other times it's just part of living in the world that we live in. Either way, walking through the darkness is not fun. And we can take this a step farther than walking through the darkness, because it might be that we've had a moment or a day or a season where we're not even walking through the darkness. We've just sat down. And to say that we're sitting in the darkness is more severe than walking through the darkness, because it means we've stopped moving. It might be that we've been shocked by a sudden sorrow. Grieving a loss certainly can make us feel like we're lost in some wilderness. Or it could be that a person or an ability or something else that we've loved has failed us in some way, and we just feel numb to life. Or have you ever been at that point where everything inside of you, your drive, your passion, your desire, your ambition, your mission, purpose, all that stuff has just dried up and you feel exhausted? Or maybe it's that you want to move forward, but the light to see the way has somehow been blocked out. And so here you are, paralyzed, sitting still, not moving. When the darkness closes in, it might feel like there's no way out. When the night surrounds us, we may feel trapped. When the shadows overtake us, we may feel like we're stuck. When we find ourselves sitting in the shadows, things are not going well for us. All of us have spent some time walking through the darkness or have sat down in the shadows. And maybe there's part of you that feels that way right now. So I've got good news. Every day there's the sunrise. All right, now I know there's some days where it's a cloudy morning and we can't see all the glory and brightness that's happening. But even on those cloudy mornings, the evidence is still sneaking and breaking through those gloomy skies that our planet has once again turned around and put us right in line with the light waves from that big ball of fire called the sun. When the sun rises, or when our part of the earth turns back towards the sun, everything, nocturnal creatures and night shifters aside, everything starts to wake back up. The robins welcome the morning light with songs in their little lungs. The oaks, the tulips, the corn, they all drink up the energy with their photosynthetic cells. And for us humans, the morning light is good for our emotional state, for our skin, for our eyes, for our sleep cycle. As sure as there is darkness, there is brightness. And yet will he bring dark to light, and yet will he bring day from night. Some days, we can't see all of God's brightness and glory that's happening. It can be hard to notice his graces. It can be too cloudy in our minds to feel his mercies. It might be too dark in the world around us to see his love. So let's see if our peace verse today can help us catch some more glimpses. Luke chapter 1, verses 78 and 79 from the New Living Translation go like this. Because of God's tender mercy, the morning light from heaven is about to break upon us, to give light to those who sit in the darkness and in the shadow of death, and to guide us to the path of peace. This celebration was sung by a man named Zechariah. He was a New Testament priest, not the Old Testament prophet who has a book named after him. This Zechariah's life overlapped with Jesus, and he might have actually been one of the old guys at Jesus' family reunions. After he had wondered for a long time if he would get to see God in action, and when he and his wife were advanced in years, they were given a son. And so at the dedication for their son, who, by the way, was going to be John the Baptizer, Zechariah broke out in praise for what God was about to do with the Messiah. Zechariah had caught on to the truth about our human condition. We will have to walk through darkness and may even be born into the shadows of death. But God always brings his light. Every day there's mercy. Now, God's mercy is not just the sympathetic feeling. God's mercy is a feeling plus an action that does something about it. God's mercy is an affection for the afflicted as well as some help for the hurting. Our sister who nominated this verse summarized her appreciation for it this way. It reminds me how great God's love is, how great his mercy is, and however far I stray, he loves me and wants me back. Okay, God's mercy is always there, but how does that take us to peace? How can we still have peace when things are not going well, when we feel like we're at the opposite end from peace and prosperity. So, what is the relationship between peace and prosperity? Do we only experience peace after we've experienced prosperity? Or does it go the other way? Does a nation, for example, only experience prosperity because they've been able to establish peace? We could probably find a variety of programs on the international level that are designed to go one way or the other, to establish peace so there's prosperity, or establish some prosperity so that there's peace. Well, the Bible's picture of peace is not one or the other, and that's true Old Testament and New Testament. The word for peace in the Old Testament, shalom, and the word in the New Testament, eirene, both are a big picture, all of the above kind of peace. And Zechariah then, when he's looking forward to the Messiah's peace, is not doing so because it only will bring freedom from war and conflict between political parties, or only because it will bring forgiveness from God, or only because it will bring harmonious relationships among his family and friends, nor only because it would bring prosperity in his society. Zechariah is looking forward to the peace of Christ because the peace of Christ is an all of the above kind of peace. Our God wants you to have that big picture, all of the above kind of peace. He wants things to go well with you, even when things aren't feeling good. And to make that happen, He has sent the light so we can see the path of peace. Jesus is that light, and that path of peace is the Jesus way to live. A lifestyle that follows Jesus walks in light and peace, even when the world's pretty dark. I like how the Message version rephrases this passage into English. Through the heartfelt mercies of our God, God's sunrise will break in upon us, shining on those in the darkness, those sitting in the shadow of death, then showing us the way, one foot at a time, down the path of peace. We walk in the Jesus way in steps. We walk down the path of peace, one step at a time. If you ever hear someone pray, "Lead, guide, and direct us," I know it's been a reliable part of my dad's praying ever since I can remember. But honestly, there is kind of something about it that bothers me. And it's just a little bit, but it just seems so redundant, so repetitive, like it's saying the same thing over and over and over. But the more I've heard it, the more I've let it soak in, I realize that it doesn't have to be prayed or heard with redundancy. And I think it may help us in trying to understand how to follow the Jesus way. So Jesus leads us, and He guides us, and He directs us. To say Jesus leads us is to say that we don't have to go very far to find the path of peace. The trail has been blazed for us. The path has already been traveled. I think perhaps one of the simplest and most rewarding ways to read the Bible is to read through the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and just watch Jesus and see how He does things. How does He handle His frustrations? What's He say to adversaries? How does He treat His friends? What's He do to maintain His sense of peace? So Jesus leads us and Jesus guides us. In other words, He comes alongside us and helps us navigate our life in real time. If we want to walk down the path of peace with the peace bringer, we're going to have to talk to Him, like all the time. So we're going to have to go beyond the formal set times of prayer if we want to stay on the path of peace. We're going to have to talk to Him like the wiser friend that He is. So Jesus leads us, and he guides us, and he directs us. So through his Holy Spirit, he gives us his directions and his power to keep walking in his name. A key for staying in step with the Spirit is to spend time with his tribe. We discern his directions and comprehend his commands better when we're walking together. I know it's one of the good old Jesus and me hymns, but it's really together that we sing, "'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus." Just from Jesus simply taking life and rest and joy and peace. If we're going to walk in the light and we're going to stay on the path of peace, the Jesus way, it's going to be Jesus that leads us and guides us and directs us. So in the spirit of Zechariah's song of celebration, let me throw out this suggestion that each day with the sun set, or when we close our eyes at the end of our day, that we remember to give God thanks for what he's done. We can thank him for giving us enough wisdom and power to be able to live well. We can thank him for Jesus, who is able to lead us and guide us and direct us, as well as all the other ways in which he blesses us. And then in the morning with the sunrise, we can remember to give God praise for who he is, that he's a God of light, that he's a God who is full of mercy and grace, that he's a God who is relentless in his faithfulness and his love for us. The sun is always shining. It's up to us to turn into its light. We walk step by step in this path of peace. The trail's been blazed for us, and we'll choose to walk in its steps or not. If we walk in his ways, it will always end up going well with us, even if things are not all going good for us. The Jesus way is a prosperous road that provides an all of the above kind of peace. This whole peace plan is sponsored, it's initiated by God's mercy. Every one of us needs his compassion and forgiveness. Each of us needs his power and wisdom. We all need more than just the little slivers of peace that we can self-manufacture. We need his peace. May his peace be with you.